the area in and around Gade Beach has been used to discard human remains for some period of time.
There was no doubt in my mind that was a serial killer.
I wasn't surprised, actually, that they started finding bodies turning up along this road because it's very desolate.
We want to catch this guy before another girl has to go missing and lose her life.
This is not an episode of CSI.
I'm going to find Shannon if it takes me the rest of my lifetime.
Gade Beach enjoys a remote location on Long Island's South Shore. It's the perfect destination for those who want to get away from it all, but it's also an attractive spot to those with something to hide. When bodies were discovered along this shoreline, Gade Beach would forever be stained as a dumping ground for murder victims and synonymous with the search for a serial killer. Gade Beach, a pristine stretch of coastline along Long Island's South Shore. An hour drive from New York City, Gade has attracted surfers, beachgoers, and fishermen for generations.
It's calm, it's peaceful, everyone's it's a big fishing environment, obviously. Just like to come out here to relax, get away from everything else.
It's hard to imagine this sun-drenched shoreline is the scene of such a dark discovery this winter.
A gruesome find by Gade Beach. Skeletal remains discovered right off of Ocean Parkway.
Tonight, police say they've discovered 3 more bodies.
They have found what appears to be another body near Gade Beach.
Body count along Ocean Parkway continues to climb.
What we do know for certain, and what is now very clear, is that the area in and around Gade Beach has been used to discard human remains for some period of time.
Surfers have been driving down this road from Rock Moses to Gade to Long Beach for years. It's almost straight the entire way, and I wasn't surprised, actually, that they started finding bodies turning up along this road in the middle of the night. It is a remote place.
Look at this, desolate. It's the definition of desolate, it's the definition of undercover. This is really the perfect place to disguise something. No one's going to see you doing it, and no one's going to see what you've done.
Dr. Barbara Kerwin is a criminal psychiatrist who's worked with serial killers, including Joel Rifkin, who murdered 17 women here on Long Island.
It's sort of like the memo goes out in the underworld. This is a place where a body is not going to be discovered. And they're pretty correct on that.
None of the bodies would have been discovered if it wasn't for Shannon Gilbert. The 24-year-old was working as an online escort and was last seen running from the small seaside community of Oak Beach over a year ago. She's still missing.
We're going to find who did this, and we're going to find Shannon. If it takes me the rest of my lifetime, to the day I die, I'm going to find out.
Just down the road from where Shannon disappeared, 4 other women were found in burlap sacks. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Melissa Barthélemy. All of them went missing over the past 4 years, and all of them were working as escorts off the website Craigslist.
I don't think it's a coincidence that 4 bodies ended up in this area. Certainly, we're looking at that. We're looking at that we could have a serial killer.
When those bodies were first discovered, there was no doubt in my mind that was a serial killer. In fact, it was a classic serial killing pattern. A victim who's going to be submissive. Who's going to be submissive? A prostitute.
Vernon Gaberth is a homicide and forensic consultant. He's written numerous books on serial killers and their behavior.
They had to have been in contact with the same person. There's no doubt that one killer and one killer alone is responsible for those 4 bodies. The fact that they were so strategically placed is an interesting dynamic because most serial killers do not maintain a disposal site or burial ground. There's no doubt in my mind when those bodies were discovered, that guy was in a panic. Somebody knows him. Somebody saw this guy go through a drastic change when those bodies were found.
The search for bodies along Ocean Parkway intensified. On March 29th, the remains of 2 more women were found, but unlike the other victims, these women were decapitated and dismembered. Their hands and heads were buried near Gade, The rest of their remains were found years ago, 45 miles away in Manorville. Police identified one as Jane Doe number 6. The other was Jessica Taylor, another sex worker who went missing in 2003.
The killer or killers of Jane Doe number 6 and Miss Taylor went to extraordinary lengths in an attempt to prevent the victims from being identified.
On April 4th, 2 more sets of remains surfaced near Ocean Parkway. An Asian man in his 20s, then a little girl around 2 years old. Police now feared they were looking for more than one killer.
I look at the psychology of the place and the crime. And what we have here seems like multiple crimes. We could have 2 serial killers.
This is one of the biggest investigations in Suffolk County history. I think everybody would agree that this is really not the norm. When you have such a high-profile case, you have the interest that's being generated with this type of investigation.
Locals hope the spotlight on Gilgo Beach will fade once a killer is caught.
I actually have a Gilgo hoodie, and I don't even wear it anymore because it always starts conversation. I'll be at a line at Home Depot, and the people behind me start talking about it. Suddenly I hear, oh, dead hookers, dead prostitutes. If you don't know the area, it's given some sort of negative view of Gilgo. Once you say Gilgo, automatically out of everybody's mouth is prostitutes, murderers. Everybody's sick of hearing it. Everybody's just tired of hearing about the stories over and over again.
But for the families of the victims, their loved ones' stories can never be told enough times.
This is to all the girls, Megan, Melissa, Amber, Maureen, and also Shannon.
Ready?
No!
Who is Shannon Gilbert, and what led up to her disappearance that night at Oak Beach? Questions that could hold the key in the search for a serial killer.